This episode of After Dark is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook, head on over to www.audible.com/Gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to After Dark, the show that cannot happen unless you guys call in live right now and ask us your questions. That's right, it's Tuesday night, it's 9:30, and this show only gets better when you watch it live. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet before, we're asking you, come check us out. Tuesday nights, 9:30 p.m. PDT. Joining me like he always does, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the man who won't wear a dress at BlizzCon, Mr. Josh Allen. Not even a chance.
That's what I say.
Not even a chance.
Wow, you cover up my awesome shirt with my own stupid name. That's awesome.
Sorry. Your stupid name got in the way. I wasn't even prepared.
My bad.
And myself, Mr. Mike Schaffnitz. That's right. I'm with you guys here every week. We got a good show for you guys, as always. Holy cow. This is a new format. Although, while I fix this, I guess, I don't know. I forgot to change this square, so I guess we'll just start off with a Twitter question.
I kind of like it. I'm digging it.
It's kind of nice, except for when it happens when we have a caller that calls in, and I got just a question down there that's unrelated. Then we're kind of up a creek without a paddle. You know what? Let's test it out right now. Let's open up the lines and ask this caller how things are going. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, tell us your question. Not the one right below us, because that's someone else's.
I wouldn't do that. Hi, this is Idiot Tank. I'm from Macon, Georgia.
We haven't talked in a long time, Idiot Tank. We used to be like bros. I feel like it's been ages.
Yeah, and then somebody went alliance.
It happens to the best of people, and also Mike Schaffnit.
How you been, man?
Right. He's bad at Feral anyways.
Oh, so mean.
Burn.
So mean.
We're getting started early this episode.
Starting early, and Darnell's not even here. All right, Idio Tank. Mr. Idio with a tank in there. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I was looking around on iOS market today, and I found they had Final Fantasy Tactics, which, Mike, you're probably well aware is one of the best Final Fantasy games. I was just wondering, what is your thoughts on re-releasing some of the older games with, a little bit of updated graphics, and even in this one, they added voice dialogue. Just wondering, what is your thoughts on re-releasing old games?
Josh, you play around on the mobile market a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if we're specifically talking about re-releasing games onto the mobile market, I don't have too much trouble with that, just because it's a lot of times it's an audience that couldn't get it before, and it's like, especially in the case of like Final Fantasy Tactics, which I'm trying to actually remember. I know there was I'm thinking of Tactics Advance was the one that I used to play on the Game Boy Advance, but obviously Tactics was on, what was that, on the SNES before that? I don't know, it was
Tactics
a long time
was
ago.
on PS1.
It was on
Tactics
PS1.
Advance was the same gameplay, but it had different characters and different story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. But regardless, it's something that a lot of, like, even nowadays, the Game Boy Advance is that's ancient history nowadays. So I think it's cool that companies like Square are starting to look at mobile platforms like iOS, like Android, because they're on the Android market as well. They're starting to look at smartphones and iPads and stuff like that as an actual outlet for mobile games, which is great. That's exactly what the mobile gaming market needs right now. It needs more people that actually realize it's a legitimate platform. You can actually put games on that. You don't need like little handheld Nintendo 3DO72 Sega Saturn, whatever it is. Like you don't need those anymore. You have a smartphone. Everybody's got one nowadays, or lots of people do. So I don't know. I love it. In terms of re-releasing, I think it's probably fine. A lot of times they tend to re-release them at prices that are a bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy ATB. Final
Yeah.
Fantasy ATB. What are you doing, Square?
Yeah,
$3.
exactly. $3 is nothing for Square. They really on
$3 just to play the game, and then you have to buy characters. You have to buy the thematic characters for $1, and it's a random roll. You don't even get to choose the one that you want, so you might end up getting duplicates.
That's a bit ridiculous, but I'm trying to look this up on my phone here real quick. Final Fantasy 3 on the Android market.
15. I'm guessing.
$15.99 on the Android market.
I win by Price is Right.
No one's gonna pay that, Square. No one. Well, I guess actually a lot of people do pay that, but still, that's a bit ridiculous. But aside from the pricing, I just think it's great that companies like Square are actually looking at mobile markets and handheld markets and smartphone markets as an actual legitimate place for them to start to do business.
Yeah, I think I really like the idea of this because, I mean, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 were games that I wanted to go back and replay back when I had a PSP. And they actually, they re-released the downloads for them. But like, I think the games that are older, that the NES and the SNES and the PlayStation ones, any ones that are truly portable to iOS or even Android that they can do, I think it's great because, as Josh said, smartphones is something that everybody nowadays has, and it's something that's so readily available to us. And Final Fantasy VII, and all of the Final Fantasies that have been on previous systems, it's not that I don't like taking the time to play those games when I get home, but when I get home, I've got a really strong gaming PC now. I've got my PlayStation 3, I've got my Xbox 360, I've got all these other things that are drawing me my way. And I feel like the best use of playing emulated games is through a mobile platform when you're on the go, if you're sitting on the bus or a train, trying to kill time when you're on the toilet, trying to procrastinate at work. All these things are great, not great, but all these places are where people want the ability to play these older titles with low impact. Because when I sit home at home, I've got such a wide library of games to play, and it's not usually the retro games that win unless they are super big classics that I've been itching to play for a long time.
Yeah. And in terms of them being re-releases, I think that's just a lot of companies are just starting to sort of test the waters a little bit. They're looking at stuff and saying, hey, we can come out, like even Square, like you were saying earlier, they are actually coming out with games that are uniquely targeted. They're not a re-release. It's new games for iOS that they're coming out with now. But at first, all we were getting was it's Final Fantasy 3, it's Final Fantasy 7, it's this and this. Like we were getting that. In fact, I don't know if they ever actually released Final Fantasy 7 on iOS.
They didn't put 7 or 8 on there. I would really love if they put 8 on there.
Okay, all right, no, I was going to bring this up as a joke. You did not just... Do you really think that they would bring Final Fantasy VII to a mobile platform as a re-release before they re-released it on an actual platform? Do you know how livid Final Fantasy fans would just blow up at Square? That would cause a riot.
It couldn't be any worse than Final Fantasy 14, let's be honest.
I would like to issue a statement to all the Final Fantasy fans out there and say, stop buying the same game over and over and over again. You've played it already. Play it again on that.
You don't know us. You don't know what we're capable of and the money that we'll shell out for games that
I know exactly what you're capable of. You're capable of spending $400 on one game.
All right, let's finish this up and round this out. Hideo Tank, we'll keep you on the line for this. What's some of the worst games that you guys have seen for the iOS that have really felt like rehashed kind of games? Now, we obviously have game developers specifically rehashing their content, but then we have game companies like Gameloft who make very successful and very good recreations of different properties and different games for people to enjoy on the iOS platform. But then there are also some that are just the most blatant ripoff that are absolutely horrible. Josh, I know you're all over the app market and the iOS market. Is there anything that really stands out to you that have just companies to stay away from?
Man, in terms of companies to stay away from, I'm trying to remember the name of this company off the top of my head. Glue Mobile is one that they have a couple of games that are kind of fun, but they all tend to be very, very very abusive free-to-play models, and so that's one that I'm not a huge fan of. Other than that, it usually like there's so many there's so many indie titles on these. And Zynga's another one that I would say to stay away from. But there's so many like indie titles that are on these that most of the bad games aren't tied to like one company, and this is the company. Do not buy any of these guys' games. It's mostly along the lines of like, okay, well, this guy made a game and it's not very good. All right, good work, that guy. I won't purchase the next game that you probably won't make. So yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, Hideo Tank? You know of any games out there that you specifically try to stay away from?
Really, if I'm looking for a new iOS game, I'm actually gonna, check around on Reddit, see what people are saying is good. I'm not gonna be looking for the bad ones, but I'm definitely staying away from that one IGN reviewed last week.
Which one was that?
It was basically a platformer where you didn't even have to jump to get over holes, and the characters were basically Pokemon ripoffs. And one of them, I think, was like $100 for a Charizard.
What a waste. All right. I think that does it for this question, Hideo. Thanks so much for calling in. It was great catching up with you. Feel free to call back sometime. We need some callers. We had to beg for you guys tonight. That's why we're asking for more callers. So thanks so much for calling in, Hideo Tank.
Have a good one.
You too. All right. While we get someone new on the line, since we got this question up, and we haven't been talking about it, but you guys already know what's coming. Drayton Horper wants to know, what's the next big game people are waiting? I don't think that was it.
That was not the same question.
Rusty Wagon wants to know, the rumor mill has been saying next-gen consoles with updated graphics will make PC gaming a thing of the past. Thoughts?
First thought is get the stupid mouse cursor out of there. Can't read it.
The rumor mill has been saying the next-gen consoles with updated now we can make it bounce. Will make PC gaming a thing of the past. Thoughts?
No.
No?
No. Just no. I mean,
I don't think
there's certainly a lot to be said for the fact that the console gaming markets and the PC gaming markets are getting closer and closer together. But that's really just because consoles are starting to catch up to PCs. And we've seen this time and time again, where next generation console comes out. Oh my God, it looks amazing. It's so much better than the PC I have that's 3 years old, right? PCs, just the fact that they're modular, you can plug stuff in and plug stuff out of them, no problem. It's not a big deal. You can constantly be upgrading them. And like every once in a while you have that big hurdle to get over, but for the most part, when you buy if you buy like an i7 right now, you will be able to upgrade that for some time to come still. So it just sort of allows PC gaming to progress faster than console gaming really can. Now, granted, there's a lot to say for console gaming in terms of the fact that they tend to not be able to fully unlock the potential of it right away and stuff like that. But I just feel like PC gaming is just able to advance faster. So every time a new console comes out, sure, there's a brief period of time where the consoles are amazing, and it can last years. Like, there will be a long time where the consoles are amazing, and some of the games on them are fantastic, and people are really, really excited about those. But as time goes on, unless they want to have like a 4-year life cycle for their console, eventually that stuff is going to be old again, and it's going to be something where the PC gaming starts to catch up to that.
And that's just technology. I mean, you even said, these new consoles will be better than my gaming PC that I built 3 years ago. Okay, well, what happens in 3 years from now when you build a brand new gaming PC and now they outdate the gaming consoles that came out 3 years ago? I mean, that's just the way technology is. You can't win by buying technology. It's outdated the second you buy it.
Exactly. One of the big draws to console gaming is that it's a lot less of an individual investment. It's a lot cheaper to actually be able to play on consoles because, like, my computer right now, all parts all considered, is probably because I didn't buy all the parts right at once, but it's something around the vicinity of like $1,200, $1,300 I spent on my PC total. I could buy a console for like $500, $600, much less. So that's obviously one of the major draws to console gaming. I just feel like no matter which way you slice it, sure, there's times where console gaming will be better than PC gaming, or have certain advantages over PC gaming. there's times where PC gaming will have certain advantages over console gaming. Neither one can ever really completely eradicate the other. I just don't think that that's really going to happen at any point. Eventually, and as time goes on, like we've started talking about consoles that, like rumors been floating around, oh, you might be able to actually upgrade your consoles in the next generation or something like that. You'll actually be able to pull out the parts and put new parts in, so it does get better like PCs do over time. At which point I say, okay, at what point is this no longer a console and it's just a PC that you plug into your television?
Oh goodness!
I am Skype now.
Oh goodness!
Hey guys, I'm
I
Skype. I'm here ruining everything as usual
for that.
because I'm Skype.
That was an accident. Disregard.
But yeah, I just kind of feel like, yeah, the gap gets a little bit closer as time goes on, and certainly PC gaming has risen up a lot from where it used to be. Where it used to be console gaming was all anybody did. Nowadays, PC gaming tends to have a lot more of an advantage than it used to be. Console gaming is still a much larger market, but I don't think PC gamers should be at all worried about PC gaming going away because the new consoles came out and oh my god, they're so much better. Like, at some point, you're just going to be buying a PC that you plug into your television, and that's pretty much what it comes down to.
All right, let's open up the lines again to Skype, because that was the whole point of what I was doing, and see what else you guys got for us. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, tell us your question.
Hello, my name is Daniel Costelli. I'm from Bellingham, Washington, and I was wondering, in a recent interview with Blizzard Entertainment's Matthew Berger, he said that Starcraft Ghost is not canceled but on hold still. And I was wondering, with like Blizzard's like new partnership with Sony, do you think maybe like they'll just remake Starcraft Ghost for the PlayStation? Because it'd be the perfect answer to Halo, to Xbox Halo.
We thought the obviously all of the MMO fans, when Metzen came out and was like, we're going to take over the world, everybody was like, oh my gosh, Titan's going to be console. But I guess that's a fair enough assessment to think that maybe he was more implying about StarCraft Ghost, Josh.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. Blizzard doesn't cancel titles. They don't. It's just that's not a thing that they do. They will never say to somebody, no, this game's never going to come out. We just completely gave up on that and it's never going to happen. That's not. And very few companies actually do. They usually just shelve things indefinitely. That was what happened with Diablo 3. But, that said, Diablo 3 also did eventually release. So, I definitely think there's a very strong chance of StarCraft Ghost coming out at some point. Or at the very least, there's a very strong chance of something called StarCraft Ghost to come out at some point. Whether or not it's the... hang on one second, let me pull it up here. Whether or not it's this particular StarCraft Ghost, that...
Do you just have that on do you just have that on standby for like whenever you want to pull it out? I pulled up a PST or a Weekly Marmot the other day, and it's just like you just got this thing thumbing through it. You just have that just sitting by you at all times?
A viewer actually sent it to me a while ago, and it's just been sitting on the shelf next to me here. So I had to slip it. I'm actually really amazed that I managed to not knock all the stuff that was sitting on it over, because I had like my my Moga controller was sitting on it, and apparently a bunch of CDs as well. I don't know. I'm not very well.
What's a Moga controller?
Fine. Okay. It's a controller for your Android smartphone. It's like this.
Oh. Okay, so you get D-pad stuff.
You put the phone in there. Yeah.
Is it Bluetooth or is it Bluetooth?
It's Bluetooth. It's all right. It's not great. It's my official review on the Moga controller. It's all right. It's not great.
It's all tagline right there. It's all right. It's not great.
7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's about where I'd put it. Yeah, about a 7 out of 10. But getting back to StarCraft Ghost, no, I think there's definitely a very real possibility that we'll see something along the lines of StarCraft Ghost come out at some point. And I think, like you're saying, I think the idea that they're partnering with Sony now and they're actually looking to get back into the console market, I think that's a very, very real possibility that they'll head in that direction. I mean, I've said this a few times, but they picked up this whole team of console developers ages ago, and then those guys have sort of after StarCraft Ghost got canceled, they sort of a lot of them moved to other places in the company, a lot of them left the company, etc. But they still have a very real set of console talent in the company itself. I'll be amazed if we don't eventually see Starcraft Ghost come back in some fashion or another. Or even if they don't call it Starcraft Ghost, like a third-person Starcraft shooter. Sure, give it to me.
Do you think that that's something that's going to kind of be projected for console exclusive for PlayStation 4? I mean, they've made a deal with PlayStation, clearly, for them to have come out and made this statement at PlayStation 4's, press conference. So does that mean it's potentially exclusive for PlayStation 4?
Possibly. I don't necessarily think that the fact that they were at the conference saying that our game is going to be on your console necessarily concludes that there's an exclusive there. But it's also possible. I don't know. We still have yet, like, Microsoft still has yet to have their Xbox 720 thing. So maybe they'll have Chris Metzen come out for that one too and be like, and Diablo 3! Why not?
Because we can. Yes. All right, Daniel, thank you so much for your question. Unfortunately, just with the amount of callers and everything that we got to get through, we're going to have to move on. But thank you so much for your question. We're going to open up the lines here real quick. But before we do, this next segment is always brought to you guys by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. I told you guys before, they got a lot of Cartoon Network shows right now. It's awesome. I started watching Dexter's Lab all over again. That and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Come on, I know you guys watch that stuff. Don't even pretend like you didn't. Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed, and Eddie, Johnny Bravo. Josh, I don't even have to look at the computer. Stop giving me dirty looks. Just stop.
No, I love me some Johnny Bravo.
All right, netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. But that means it is time for some Eduardo's Corner. Eduardo!
Hello, guys. How are you?
Is that a mating call?
I'm out of there. Oh, Eduardo, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you guys? Well, I think I'm going to get a flu. I hope not.
I passed it digitally. I came down with it 2 weeks ago, and I'm still recovering from it.
Oh, so it was you.
It was me. It was me. What do you got for us this week, Eduardo?
Well, do you guys have a favorite game designer or a favorite director? Like for me, it's maybe Goichi Suda, the guy who made No More Heroes, Killer 7. Are you
Suda
familiar
51.
with him? Yes, Suda 51. Goichi Suda.
Favorite game designer
Or director.
I mean, mine are obviously the stereotypical ones of Miyamoto, because of Legend of Zelda, and then I don't actually know by name. I know I don't think they were the game director, but I know whoever took charge of the whole debacle with Majora's Mask and kind of stepped in and said, I don't want to make the sequel to Ocarina of Time. I want to make Majora's Mask, or I'm going to make a different game. That whole thing. The guy who kind of challenged Miyamoto and did that, I've got a lot of respect for him for that.
Eiji Aonuma.
Aonuma, yeah. And then I think the only other one that I know by name is I don't even know him by name. Josh, go real quick. I gotta Google this.
Well, I'm trying to think here because I could rattle off a few like Blizzard names or something, but it wouldn't be someone who necessarily just the way they work. They don't tend to have like one person that does everything. So it'd be tough to look at someone who is in a position like Miyamoto or like Uichi Suda or anybody like that who's at Blizzard Entertainment. They just kind of don't work the same way. There's no Richard Garriott's or anything like that over there. Other than that, man, I really don't know. I've always tended to, just like thinking back through all the games that I've enjoyed over the years, my favorite games always tend to be the ones that are designed by a group of people and not like, this is This is the new what's the guy who made Spore? I cannot think of his name right now. I cannot think of his name right now. Hopefully somebody in the chat room will help me out with that one. But
I'm Googling it.
The new Richard Garriott name or something like that.
Brian, oh wait, Will Wright was the
Will
designer.
Wright, yeah. Like, or Sid Meier or something like that. Like I don't really have games I guess Sid Meier games I always really enjoyed, but there isn't really a name, like one individual name that jumps out to me. So no, I guess I don't really have a favorite designer or director or anything like that.
The one, and again, as I said, it's very stereotypical. I think for me is, and I googled it, and I can't believe I couldn't remember it. But Tetsuya Nomura, who's clearly the Final Fantasy director for 13 Versus, Kingdom Hearts. Those are the two games that he's ever directed. But I think I also have a lot of respect for him, also just because he was the character designer for Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and 9, I believe. But it just I feel like he's well-rounded enough. And at the same time, the fact that he's stepping down from directing titles, he says that Final Fantasy 13 Versus is actually going to be the last title that he is game director on. I think also says a lot, because maybe he's not being able to make the games that he wants to make. I don't know. I did
think of one though. I did think of one. Tim Schafer, when he was making his old school adventure games like Day of the Tentacle, or what was the Mexican Day of the Dead one? A Grim Fandango. I always really liked those games a lot.
Now
Day of
there's
the Tentacle
another
in
one.
particular I liked a lot.
The Guacamele. Well, it's not from the same people who made Green Fandango, but it's the same. It's about Dia de los Muertos, with the iconography and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to bring it up just because fanboys will obviously bite our head off if we don't bring up Kojima. Do you guys have any thoughts on Kojima?
I never liked Metal Gear Solid.
Well, when a Japanese developer
Josh, you're gonna get so much hate.
I know. It's true though. I can't help it, man. I didn't like
Here's my thing. Here, I'll even jump on the band and help back you up here. We'll create a whole nother Team Cheesecake rivalry here. I don't hate Metal Gear Solid. I just can't bring myself to play a stealth game. I just can't. Like, I've tried many times, and I can't approach the game the way that it wants me to approach it. And a lot of people are like, oh, you don't have to. You can just run in guns blazing. A, that defeats the purpose of the whole game. B, no, you really can't, because you get your butt kicked. So don't tell me that I can. All right? You're lying to me.
Yeah. Well, my thing with Metal Gear Solid was, it was like, I didn't play it right when it came out. I was a poor boy, and I needed no sympathy or something, but I didn't have Metal Gear Solid right when it released. So it had been out for a long time by the time I got a chance to play it, and I knew a whole bunch of people were like, oh my god, Metal Gear Solid, it's so amazing, you have to go play it. And I started playing it, and I died like 10 times in the first level, and I went, I do not understand what people like about this game, and I just never played it again after that. I was like, I don't, what is fun? There's nothing fun here. Oh, I have to stand here and wait for this guy to walk past me? That's boring. I want to shoot him. And so then I went and played something else. I went and played Counter-Strike instead.
Since we're on the topic of Metal Gear, I know this is kind of straying, but what did you guys think about the way that they marketed the Phantom Pain? With I think it was Spike's Video Game Awards, where the trailer came out for Phantom Pain, and it only took hours for people to piece together that it was actually Metal Gear Solid 5. But I'm kind of sad that it didn't like, people are just getting way too smart. But I kind of liked that viral kind of marketing behind the idea of like, oh, what's this game? It's so cool and awesome, and it didn't really exist, and they were like kind of trying to like poke fun and tease and have a little bit of fun. I like that. I think the marketing was fun.
It seems like the developers and the like, even in things like, I remember the Mass Effect 3 trailer came out and people were going frame by frame by frame by frame through that thing trying to find stuff, and they were finding things. Like, there actually were things in there that they found. I think it's a matter of like the cinematics departments and the PR departments having a little bit of fun and saying, oh, we're gonna sneak this in here, we'll sneak that in there. Oh, it's gonna be so awesome. I just think it's cool when they do.
That's not a sneak though. That's like a whole entire, like, we're gonna come up with a fake production company. We're gonna create a fake website. Well, they're like, that's an investment. to go that far.
I still think it's cool. Like, there's a lot of companies that have come out with like ARGs involving their games, and people have been like,
Yeah, that's
"What
true.
is this? What's going on here?" It's just kind of an extension of that idea. I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's cool to do stuff like that. Let your ultimate fans know about something before like everybody else knows about it. You sort of build up a little bit of repertoire with them, but you don't really harm your marketing scheme overall because most people just go, "I've never heard of this before."
Yeah. Eduardo, do you have any thoughts on Phantom Pain?
Well, Kojima has been doing weird marketing stuff since a very long time ago. I think there was a game. It was for PC, and he wanted to have the discs scented like blood. He wanted to find a chemical compound that he could put on the disc to make them smell like blood.
That's a weird strategy if I'd
Yeah.
ever
Some of
say
those-
so myself.
Some of those guys though are like, and I'm
Them
not trying
Japanese
to say-
developers, I guess.
well, but it's just there's two of them that come to mind. There's Hideo Kojima and there's Oichi Suda that Eduardo brought up earlier. These guys are just kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's just like me as an outsider's perspective. I don't know the inner workings of the Japanese gaming industry, but still, it's just like,
Is weird. That is weird, but is weird needed? Like, is weird what innovated the gaming industry back in the day? I feel like we're not having as much
to a degree,
innovation
I think-
with
I
the
almost-
way gaming's going.
to a degree, but I almost feel like a lot of people are trying to be too weird nowadays. And like, I'm gonna poke at Miyamoto a little bit for this one, but the dude's gone insane in recent years. Like, Wii
Come on,
music,
you-
what was that?
if you have all this, like, come on, like, yeah, I mean, and the problem is he's probably super excited about these titles. He's not just sitting there just like in his chair being like, I'm gonna make billions. He's probably like legit, like, this is the best idea I've ever thought of, which he's wrong.
Well, that's what I meant by
but-
crazy.
He's got so much money. Wouldn't you go a little bit insane? Like,
Oh yeah, I already
Come
am
on.
crazy. I'm broke. I'm crazy.
yeah, all we got to do is just pass a little money your way, and then the world's gonna end.
Miyamoto has always been insane. It's because now we have the internet, and now people who work with him can talk about how he is. Do you remember when we talked about how Miyamoto will just throw his projects to the trash and start them over again?
I do remember that. But that's, I mean, I don't necessarily, it's tough to say because I don't think that's not the crazy that we were just kind of referring to. I think throwing a project completely away because you're not satisfied with it isn't necessarily bad. Oh, I would hate to be one of the developers who's like working on this game, pouring my blood, sweat, and tears to it, and then just someone up's like, you know what? So yeah, you did great, but the guy over here didn't do his job well, and I'm just not liking it. So we're throwing away your 2 years of your life.
I don't like cell shading anymore.
Just awful. That would be awful. Yeah, that's,
But I mean, he has. I guess to be fair, he always has been kind of crazy. I mean, he did come out with a game about a plumber who punches bricks to eat mushrooms to get larger to save a princess from a dinosaur.
he was high. He was high. It was the 80s, and just stuff happened. Mushrooms. All right, Eduardo, I think that does it for us. We got to keep moving, but thank you so much for your call. We always appreciate
Thank you,
bringing you
guys.
on and having a good hearty laugh with you. So please keep calling back.
Okay, see you next week, guys.
Sounds great, man. All right, while we get someone else on the line, let's pull up another Twitter question. This time, Kyle Brigman wants to know, competitive speedrunning has taken off over the last 2 years. Could we see it reach MLG levels like League of Legends and StarCraft? First off, I just want to say, speedrunning feels so cheap because like the big speed runs are like practically glitching the game. And again, I'm like the ones that it's like, how can I make the least amount of effort to skip levels or to glitch the game to get past this where I shouldn't. And like, it's not legit like I'm going to speed run this game from start to finish the way that it was supposed to be played. That to me should be a speed run. But that's just my thoughts.
They're so fun to watch though. Like some of the weird glitches that like, have you watched the like 20-minute Ocarina of Time speed runs?
I haven't, but that's kind of what I was referring to. I haven't watched them, but
it's funny because there was one I was watching and I don't remember the guy's name. I apologize, but there was one I was watching where the guy was going through the whole. Like, he was just talking about everything that he was doing, and he almost had, like, this whole presentation that he would just chat about the game and all the different glitches he was coming into as he went along through it. And just some of the weird glitches in that game, like, depending on where you're facing, when you walk through a door at a certain point, you might get teleported to a different cutscene entirely. So, like, he's at the bottom of the Deku tree, he kills a boss, he stands in the right spot, he does this, I don't even remember all what he did, and then he's like, okay, so now Ganon's dead. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's some sort of thing where when you beat Goma, if you go into the portal after Goma dies, you can somehow glitch the game.
Same time as
and then it brings you to like the final scene at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of I think they're really, really fun to watch. I don't know if they would ever get to like MLG levels of competition, like full on esport. But they're still really fun to watch, and I think they're a great way for content creators to. They're a great form of content creation to put out. A lot like the people do their Let's Plays, people do stuff like that. I think speedruns are, honestly, in a lot of ways, they're a lot more impressive to watch than like, oh, some guy got, he went 12-0 in Call of Duty. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. This guy just beat Ocarina of Time in 15 minutes.
But Josh, haven't you ever seen The Wizard?
Of course, I've seen The Wizard. I saw it in theaters. Okay, I didn't see it in theaters, but
come on, that's competitive speed running. That's like MLG, kind of like, oh my goodness, this is so cool, and like maybe it's even something like that, like, oh my goodness, Super Mario Brothers 3. You guys don't even know what this game is. Now go beat it. Speed run. Hashtag speed run.
A lot of speed runs don't even use glitches. Like there's different brands of speed running, I guess. There's like tool-assisted speed runs where it's just somebody uses an emulator with like save states and stuff, or like automatic inputs and stuff like that to be able to try and like, this is the fastest possible way for this game to ever be completed. And I've seen some of those. I watched one from Super Mario 64 a while back. Just nuts. Like Mario turned to this tiny Italian ninja, was flipping all over the place and like flying upstairs backwards on his ass. It was kind of awesome to watch. And there's some like the Ocarina of Time speedrun I was just talking about. But even like a lot of the Metroid speedruns, those don't use glitches. A lot of the Metroid speedruns won't use glitches. They'll just go through and say, I'm going to just haul ass through Metroid as fast as possible. I used to do that with Metroid Zero on the Game Boy Advance. I would actually just sit there and see how fast can I beat Metroid. Or am I saying that? Is it Metroid Zero? I don't remember. But I was like, I can't even remember what the name of it was now. It was a long time ago. But I would like sit there with my Game Boy Advance, be like, all right, I got it in an hour and 15 minutes. Let's see if I can get it faster this time. And I would just play through that game over and over again because it's a lot of fun. It's really enjoyable to try and get through games like that as quickly as you possibly can. And you find little shortcuts and stuff. You're like, ooh, I can actually jump up. I can wall jump up this wall and I can get this thing before that, which means that then, in a Metroidvania sort of game, I can get through to this upgrade in other ways like that. Honestly, I think speedruns are really awesome. Again, I don't really think they'll ever be to MLG levels of competitive esports, but I'm really, really glad to see them starting to take off and more people starting to appreciate just how cool they actually are.
Now, someone in chat room brought up a good thought that I didn't think about is we kind of took it into a more console speed run, but what about the consideration of like what Athene did with rating speed runs and making that kind of a competitive esport? We've seen that at BlizzCons, I believe BlizzCons or maybe Blizzard events where like they're doing they summon all the old raid bosses right in front of Orgrimmar, if I'm not mistaken, and like they do stuff like that. Could we ever see something like that?
Before you. I think those are fun events. I don't necessarily think that's something that could, because the thing about a speedrun about an esport is it needs to be sustainable constantly. It can't be
Mhm.
something that's like, oh, once a year. Because as soon as it's something that you cannot feasibly make a living off of, it's no longer an esport. It's something that you'd have to say, okay, in order to be an esport, in my mind, there needs to be professional gamers that go along with it. So there needs to be like a professional Starcraft player, professional League of Legends player. There are professional raiders. There are people who raid for a living, but that's typically involved with streaming and doing stuff like that. And it's not so much from the competition aspect of it. Well, technically,
And
the competition aspect is there, but still, I don't know. I feel like that sort of thing doesn't really translate as well, again, into an esports sense. They're fun to watch, but it's not something that I would say, oh man, did you watch that speed run yesterday? There's going to be another one tonight. Like, this isn't something that I think you could do like a GSL or an MLG off of.
I think that also comes from the style that of like what a speed run is for rating is systematic and it's mechanics and it's mastering something, whereas something like League of Legends, Dota, StarCraft, that evolves because it's player versus player. You know, even arenas, that's still within the MMOs, that changes because every match is different. It's not just who can execute this flawlessly or who can figure out the mechanics faster and learn to deal with them. It's literally an ever-evolving process. No two matches are the same. And that's kind of like you said, you wouldn't watch a speed run one night to the next because it would essentially just be the same thing. You'd eventually just keep watching the same encounters and the same fights, and it would get old.
The other thing about it too is team size. Like when I look at PlanetSide 2 as a esport, because they're trying to do this whole thing with that, and they're talking about teams of 30 players, something ridiculous. I don't remember the exact number off the top. It's a lot of players, and it's like, okay, when you get tournament winnings of 50 grand and you split it between 50 players, everybody, congratulations, your yearly salary is 1 grand. No, that's not going to work. So that's another thing to consider, is when you've got too many people involved in something like a competitive rating or something like that. Obviously, if we're getting back to the original topic of just like single-player game speedruns, that doesn't apply there. But in something like rating, even if it's a 10-player, like a 10-man rating speedrun, you still run into problems where it's like, this is a few too many people to really sustain anything off of.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's throw it back over to Skype. We got someone new on the line. So caller online with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Hi, name's Jeff Stone from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Can I call you Jeffy? I don't know why you said your name is Jeff, and I immediately want to call you Jeffy.
Well, it's Jeff with a G, so realistically, it's a G off.
Can I call you Geoffrey?
That just doesn't even ring.
Joffrey.
Like, you got nothing. It's like your cheesecake.
Damn it! You don't tell me I got nothing.
It's okay.
Right.
It's okay, Jeff. He lives in one of those weird half-time zones.
No, I'm not in a halftime zone. I'm the time zone before the halftime zone.
Oh. Well, now I'm disappointed.
Now you got nothing. All right, Jeff, what do you got for us?
Basically, my question is about BlizzCon tickets. So, with tickets being sold out basically within minutes, as per the norm with BlizzCon tickets.
Seconds.
Technically seconds, yeah, if you consider the queue as part of them selling out. But yeah.
Yeah, like, basically, do you guys think that Blizzard's doing enough to stop eBayers? Because, I mean, as soon as...
No! They were on eBay like 2 minutes after they went out. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, like, I mean, I got my ticket at I was like 2,000 in queue, and as soon as I got my ticket, check on eBay, and sure enough, there was already 2 pages of BlizzCon tickets.
I mean, I wonder if those pages were people who preemptively put up the bid or whatever it is on eBay, hoping they would get one, and then maybe they pulled it down if they didn't get a ticket. That's my assumption, just of how many were up there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at them now. They're still up there for like 300 plus a ticket. So unless you're going to like the $500 charity dinner, you're kind of SOL.
Yeah, I think it's something that, well, okay. One of the things that I don't remember if this was confirmed or not, because I honestly didn't look into it too closely because I didn't have to buy my own BlizzCon ticket. So, but anyway,
I'm squinting really hard at you right now.
I can see that.
I hope you see this in your nightmares.
I won't. You're fine. Don't worry about it. No, but one of the things that I heard was that they may actually start requiring people to, like the actual card holder, the person who bought the ticket, to actually be there when you get your ticket now. So instead of it's just like where before it was, you buy the tickets and then it's cool. Then like, okay, you set up, you like put in everybody's information, and then you get the email. It was like a couple of months before the thing actually, before the convention actually happened. And then you just had to bring that email along with some personal identification that you were the person on the email who was signed up for that particular ticket. That was all they were doing before. But it's possible that they will then also require the guy who bought the ticket to be there with the card that he bought the ticket with. And if they do something like that, there's going to be a lot of people pissed off at the people that they bought tickets off of eBay from, because that guy's not going to be there. He doesn't care.
That guy, and that guy's not going to care that they're pissed off. That guy's going to be like, 100, 200, 300. He's going to be counting his cash.
Money.
Yeah. So stuff like that could curb it a little bit, if that is something that they're actually doing. Again, I don't remember if that's something that they said they were actually doing this year or not. But if that is something that they're actually doing, that could curb it a little bit. But there'll still be people that do it anyway, because they'll be like, maybe somebody doesn't know. I will still resell this BlizzCon ticket for... Anyway, right now, like, there isn't even any proof, really, that you've bought BlizzCon tickets. Like, I could put up an eBay listing. I'm not going to, because I'm not a dumbass, but I could put up an eBay listing for 5 BlizzCon tickets.
Well, let's rephrase that. You might be.
All right, I'm not Mike Schaffnet, but but I could just put up a listing for BlizzCon tickets and be like, all right, yeah, I got your information in, and when I get the email in 6 months, I'll send it to you. And after 6 months, like, eBay doesn't care anymore. At least I don't think they do. But
well,
like,
not only that, if you delete your account or something like that within that 6 months, that guy's screwed. Like, you got nothing.
Exactly. Like, what's gonna actually happen? So I don't know. I think no matter what, scalping is just something that it's stupid, it's unfortunate, but it's like gold farming. It's just there, and there's not much that we can actually do to stop it.
Yeah.
Yep. And I guess so
real quick though,
from another perspective. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick, just in years past, because I've never done this in years past, so I was unfortunate enough to not get in position myself, so my ticket got purchased for me. In years past, it's just been the information, like I'd be able to go pick it up with my own Battle.net account. I wouldn't necessarily need the credit card holder, because that seems to be a very, as you're saying, that's a big loophole there. Is if you can just get your information into that system, then you're fine.
Yeah, what I had heard was that they would actually, and again, I don't know if this is fact or not, but I just don't have the information in front of me. But what I'd heard is that they would actually require the person who bought the card to like present the card that they bought it with when they're actually there, and say, here is the card that I bought this with, and have their ID and everything there too. So like, I'm like, when Mike B goes to get his ticket, because I bought Mike B's ticket for him, I'm gonna have to show up and be like, hey, here's my card, here's my ID, there we go. So if it's something like that they do, it means that the scalping you won't get the ticket out of it anymore, which means that a whole lot of people will not trust the scalp tickets anymore. But a lot of people won't get that memo either. A lot of people just won't know about it, and so people will still buy them, still put them up on eBay, and then be like, oh, sorry, turns out this doesn't actually work, my bad. And what are you going to do about it at that point?
Yeah, it's just like, oh, I guess I'm going to go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
F.
It's right across the street. There could be worse things to go do.
Yeah, but I mean,
like, you don't want to go look at Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, like
at BlizzCon.
Paying that airfare ticket, getting in that hotel room, being all psyched to go to BlizzCon, and just getting to the door, and you're like, oh,
wah.
Disneyland? Anybody else? All right, let's
Disneyland for one. Okay. All right.
Woo!
All right. Well, go ahead.
The other thing, just for like not defending it at all, but in a weird way, it does still, like, the scalping. And again, not defending scalping at all, but in a weird way, there is a little bit. There is one positive along with the list of cons, in that the people who really desperately want a ticket can get one. Again, I don't think it's going to work this year, and scalping's still a very bad thing. But the people who really want that BlizzCon ticket can still get one, which I guess is kind of a positive in a way. But
yeah,
exactly,
It's fake.
It's a fake.
It's a fake. All right.
Then.
That does it for this question, though. But thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate it. We're going to throw it out to the next question and try and get this show wrapped up. But thank you so much for calling.
All right. You have a good night.
You too, man. All right. So while we get the next caller on, the last caller on, I should say, and let's throw it out to another Twitter question. This one comes in from Wounded Llama. What is your opinion on Amazon Kickstarter tech difficulty? And I'm assuming this is their assumption for a possible solution. Credit, fun time, and respect of dev/funders. For those of you who maybe don't know, haven't been keeping up with it, there's a big debacle going on right now because Amazon is running into issues with their donation services, which is how people donate through Kickstarter. Specifically, this is causing a problem for Camelot Unchained. It's got to reach $200,000 in the next 2 days. And if these tech issues go on,
200,000 more.
$200,000 more dollars to hit 2 million. And if it doesn't hit it, then all the people who've been trying to fund for this game won't hit it, and then it kind of leaves them a little bit flying in the wind. And this isn't necessarily any Kickstarter program or campaign's fault here. So I mean, it would make a little bit of sense if Kickstarter was to come out and maybe compensate an additional X amount of days for the downtime here, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think that would make sense. If they're actually looking at this and saying, okay, look, this is not working, that like there's been a major issue here. If you want to, even if it's, because I'm sure there's probably something along the lines of some sort of legal thing involving Kickstarter. I'd have to go and actually look through the actual like terms of use or whatever. But I'm sure there's probably something where they said, okay, we have already got this agreement in place that if this product is not completely funded by this date, then we refund everybody's money or never take their money out or something like that. So they could get themselves into issues if they decide to go ahead and extend that amount of time and say, all right, well, we're going to add an extra couple of days on it. Then people go, well, no, this wasn't in the contract, so I want you to not take the money out of my account now and stuff like that. I could see potential legal issues with that. But they could also do something where they say, okay, look, Amazon
don't you think the people
problems.
that have funded for the people who are maybe funding, again, I'm going to use Camelot Unchained as my example, don't you think that if they put the money out for that, they wouldn't mind waiting in a couple additional days? Like, they want it to happen. They gave the money to see it happen.
Most people wouldn't. It only takes one.
That's true.
It only takes one guy who goes, no, I want my $10,000 like tour of Richard Garriott's mansion for free because this went on for 2 extra days, and you said you would not actually charge me if it wasn't funded by then, and it wasn't funded by then, so now I get this trip for free.
I've been waiting 2 weeks to receive my pre-order of Fall Out Boy's CD, and it still hasn't shipped. Give me my money back, you jerks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and looking specifically at the Camelot Unchained Kickstarter, yeah, obviously the Amazon thing is causing a huge problem for them. There are a lot of other criticisms that I have of the way that they are going about their First of all, asking for $2 million up front. That's a lot. There's not even any stretch goals or anything like that. They were just like, oh, everything's here, $2 million, and we get it, or we don't, which is that's not how Kickstarter works.
That's brave.
Yeah, that's very bold. So they definitely opened themselves up to the possibility of not getting funded with a strategy like that. Plus, just some of the there's too many tiers, and it's just a giant mess to actually look at. I have trouble reading their Kickstarter page, and it's something that the first couple of times I looked at it, I was like, maybe I'll contribute to this Kickstarter. Yeah, Dark Age of Camelot was pretty good. I kind of like an extra thing, and I started reading through the different tiers, and after the second one, I was like, I need to close this and go do something else before my brain oozes out of my ear.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
absolutely.
I think I mean, 200,000 in the next, what is it, 35 hours, 33 hours, something like that. Not, it's a lot, but it's not as much as people think it is. I'm fairly confident that it'll still get funded. And the Amazon thing is just kind of it just sucks, is really what it is in the midst of all this. I don't really know that there's anything that could really be done about it.
And I think that just in general, I mean, Camelot Unchained is one thing, but there are other Kickstarter programs out there that aren't necessarily in that kind of situation where these 2 days could hurt them. I think the most logical choice would be, obviously, you said all it takes is one, but they've got to figure something out here because it's not necessarily fair to the unfunded projects that take the hit because of these last 2 day push, not necessarily being able to donate.
Is Amazon the only way to pay through Kickstarter?
I'm not sure, as I haven't kickstarted. I'm a bad person.
Wow, you are a bad person.
I know. I've been meaning to get on it as of lately since I've had some extra income lately.
Actually, no, that's like as much as I love to give you crap, that's completely totally fine. I feel like there's a lot of people who kickstart that because they feel like they're obligated to, and that's kind of an issue with the model.
I do everything I can to share the ones that I really like feel for. I don't mind necessarily like being like, go fund this thing, but it's just like I haven't taken the time to actually do it myself.
It's the nature of capitalism. If you do not feel like you want to contribute to this at a time, then don't. There you go.
Exactly. All right, let's open up the lines one last time. We got one more caller. We can wrap this show up here pretty quick. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
My name is Corey Hernandez. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I've been on before, so don't cut me off like you did last time.
I'm gonna do it anyway because you just said so. No, how's it going, Corey?
I'm doing all right. So my question for you guys is, do you feel the expectations gamers have for MMOs now has a negative effect on the way developers use their creativity to make MMOs versus the way it was before when MMOs weren't really popular?
Am I going to get hate if I say that I want MMOs to go back to being the most awful grind slogs ever? I feel oversaturated with too much going on. And I like them being, like, I liked early MMOs the way they were. I don't think, and I say, I guess, well, hang on. I should probably say that. I think I say that from the nostalgia of it. And I think I've heard Mike B say this before. Everybody comes in and is like, oh, I like the games they used to be. And then we go back and play them and we realize that no, we really don't like them the way they used to be. We're just being nostalgic for no reason. It's tough to say.
But some of us like the pain. Some of us enjoy that.
Well,
grind.
there's some other things that you can do behind closed doors that can help you there.
Well, here's the thing. I think right now the MMO gaming industry, the MMO industry is having a bit of an identity crisis. Right now, MMOs are kind of going all over the place. We've got people saying, okay, is MMO even a genre anymore? Is it just a prefix that you put onto other genres? How does this even work? A lot of people are just sort of trying to figure out what an MMO even is nowadays. And so it puts the whole industry in kind of this weird place. I think there's definitely room for those old school, like really, really obnoxious grindfest games. You'd probably like Terra. Just gonna be honest.
I do.
What was that?
He said
I
he
play
does.
Terra. I do like it.
He said he does like Terra.
Yeah.
Fight!
Exactly. There you go.
Lore
Most
versus
people don't.
Corey. Fight!
But I think there is still there's obviously still people that do like games like that, and I think it's fine for I think MMOs nowadays need to try and find their niche a little bit more, and that's something that a lot of developers aren't doing. I don't necessarily think it's a question of modern design. Just developers are trying to copy other people too much. It's just, well, I guess technically kind of it. I don't know. It's tough to really quantify, I guess.
I feel like developers are afraid to go on their own path anymore.
That's definitely very true for a lot of games. There's definitely, I mean, how many World of Warcraft agains have we seen in the past 9 years, right?
So many.
WoW did this and it worked, so let's also do that. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to make your game interesting and enjoyable to play. I can definitely agree with that to a very real sense, and I think what just is really, and we're starting to see this happen as well. We're seeing more and more people looking at MMOs and saying, we're going to go in this direction, we're going to focus on this core audience, and we'll be happy with our 300,000 subscriber base because we've built ourselves in a way that we can sustain ourselves off of that.
Do you think that's because of, we saw this a lot with console games, do you think that's because of the open-ended technology that we have? Whereas before, when you were developing a game, you had to get creative, and you couldn't really go very graphic crazy. You couldn't go, like, you kind of had to rely on the gameplay being what was fun and interesting. And now there's so much that can go into game development that maybe the gameplay is somewhat suffering, and they're just copying and pasting what they feel is the system, and trying to just redefine other aesthetics.
I agree with that. I feel like everyone's pushing for graphics. Back in the old days, we were pushing for style and gameplay and innovation, and now everyone's just trying to make their game look pretty and then fit in gameplay afterwards.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about how that's because the gaming industry is now an industry. I mean, 20 years ago it wasn't. It barely existed, and now it's very much a money market kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that we definitely were pushing for graphics back then. It's just our opinions of what good graphics were 10 years ago are a lot different nowadays. It's like, oh, they've got more than 8 polygons. This is amazing. It's so real.
Have you seen this? Yes, it's 16 gigabytes.
I remember loading a game into my PlayStation, like Final Fantasy. I remember when Final Fantasy VII looked amazing. I was like, this game looks so awesome.
Oh my gosh, did you see those lifelike graphics? Those polygon counts? That spiky hair?
Hey guys, have you seen my hands? They're these giant bricks, because why not? Yeah. In fact, I actually think that the Mists of Pandaria Collector's Edition is actually just housed inside of a Final Fantasy VII hand. I think that's actually what they put it in.
That's
just while I've been pulling random stuff out from my desk area.
We get it. You have a lot of cool things, Josh.
No. I store everything within arm's reach of my desk.
I've got a half-empty coffee mug that Gary left here, and it's probably really lukewarm. It's about all I got in arm's reach.
I have a Sharpie.
I've completely lost track of what the question even was. So with that, I think we're coming close to our time, so we're just going to end it. Thank you so much for your call. We really, really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, guys, you can follow Mr. Lore right there at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Guys, he's got a super, super big, awesome, exciting announcement coming up tomorrow. You're going to want to follow him on Twitter so you make sure that you hear this announcement. Mm-hmm. I get to be really cool and act like I know what's going on, but you want to hear it. Check it out. Josh, you got anything else to add to
that? 3 Pacific. It's actually going to be, if I've timed things out properly, it'll be right after the Gamebreaker interview with Mark Jacobs tomorrow.
Sweet. So, excellent.
Over on my Twitch TV page.
If we can't get it, we can't get it. Can we get any sort of like pre-hint? Nothing? Anything? It's big. That's the hint. It's big. Yep.
No.
All right, Sad. You can follow me right here at Mike Schaffnitz. Be sure to follow at Gamebreaker TV and check around the site if you guys haven't before. There's a lot of awesome gaming shows, news, reviews, first plays, let's plays, just all this awesome, crazy content. So be sure to check around the site. And if you guys haven't watched this show live, you need to change that. And do so, because you can't be a part of the conversation if you don't watch live. We do this live every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. PDT, and it's all based on your guys' calls. So please, please, please check us out. That does it for us tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys for all of your calls. We'll see you next week.